Hello everyone. So this is Indian Contract Act video 5. This is Indian Contract video 5. So let's start the next concept which we will discuss in the Indian contract law, which is firstly I'll revise what we did in the last classes. In the last classes, we did the concept of minority. I told you about minority, minors, contract as void ab initio. Then we did a very important case law of Mohiru Biwi versus Dharmodosh Ghosh. Then we did some interesting exceptions to the rule of incapacity as well. Beneficial contracts of service. I hope you have revised these concepts. So let's start with our next concept, which is also a very important concept. It is concept of free consent. Okay, so in this video, we'll try to understand free consent as a concept from the consent. Then we will take up the topics like coercion, undue influence, what is mistake, what is fraud, what are its essential ingredients. So let's start with our class. I recommend you to keep a Bear Act along with you because Bear Act reading is very important when you deal with any kind of law. Okay, so let's start with consent. What is consent? We have already dealt with that one of the essential ingredients of contract is that there should be consent between the parties. What is consent? Consent, consent, if you need to understand from a Latin term, it is consensus ad idem. Consensus ad idem. What it means? It means meeting of minds. One of the essential ingredients of any kind of contract is there should be meeting of minds. Means if A is doing contract with B, they should be agreeing upon the same thing in the same sense. That is the important and one of the essential ingredient of any valid contract. Okay, so consent is when two or more persons are said to consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. This is the consent. This is the definition of consent. That these two people are agreeing on the same thing in the same sense. If A is saying that I want to sell you my house ABC for 50 lakhs, and B is also agreeing to the fact that I am agreeing to buy a house for ABC for 50 lakhs. There is consensus between them. There is a lawful object here. We'll take up what is lawful object in the next classes. Here the object is house. And what is consideration? 50 lakh is a consideration, valid consideration, lawful object, and also the parties are meeting and agreeing upon the same thing in the same sense. So you understood what is consent. Okay, so it's a very simple thing. But what is free consent? Consent is said to be free for making a contract a valid thing. Any sort of this is a agreement in the way. If they're agreeing on something, this will become a contract when all these essential ingredients plus the consent should be free. Free consent is a requirement. Consent can be there. What is the meaning of free consent? This consent which the B is giving, it is not caused by any sort of coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, or mistake, which is false subject to certain provisions under 2021 and 2022. Okay, so these are the sections which are given. So let's take up what is okay. So we'll take in the next slides as to what is coercion, what is undue influence. That will help you to understand these concepts better. Okay, so this is the difference. What is consent and what is free consent? What is the basic difference? In a lot of MCQs, this question is asked. In the consent, both parties are agreeing to the same thing in the same sense. Okay, but in the free consent, the consent is given. This consent is given. This meeting of the minds happen without these factors. These free consent is when we eliminate coercion, undue influence, fraud or misrepresentation. Well, in the illustration, I'll discuss that when these things are present, like coercion is present, then what happens? Then why it is not a why the contract does not become a valid contract? It becomes voidable or voids in certain situations, depending upon the situations. We'll take up those situations. The effect of the consent, if there is absence of consent, then then the contract becomes void, because the basic, the foundation of any contract is that there is a consent between the parties. This is defined under section 13, and free consent is defined under section 14. So let's take what is coercion. Coercion means committing or threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code, or the now we have BNS, that you'll discuss in the crimes classes. What is the BNS? Basically, it means that if the coercion is, if the any contract, a person is giving his consent, but that person is threatened by someone to commit any act which is forbidden by the Indian Penal Code, or unlawful detention or threat to detain property with the intention of forcing a person to enter into an agreement against their free will. There is absence of free will. What kind of so let's take the illustration. See, if A comes and tells to B that by putting gun on B's head, so it is like gunpoint, and tells B to sign on the paper, sign on any contract. This what does this mean? That B is under a threat. And here, what is A doing? You'll understand the kind of acts. This is a criminal act basically, and it is defined under now Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. Okay, so this is a crime. In this way, that person is creating a threat on us. A is creating a threat on the mind of B that something bad will happen to you. Okay, if you don't sign on the contract. So here, B, even though he has given his consent, he's agreeing, they are agreeing on the same thing in the same fact, but here consent is without free will. So this means this consent cannot be considered valid in the eyes of the law. This Okay, but since consent is given, but this is without free will, then this become a contract. Then this means there is no free consent. When there is no free consent, the contract become voidable. It will not become void, it become voidable. What does this mean, voidable? Void means, void in itself means nullity, means zero impact, zero. Here, here there is a consent, because that person has agreed on the same thing, they have signed also, but the consent was not free. But if there was no consent between the parties, the situation is like, here the situation was basically threat. But in case the situation would have been that A is saying to B, that A says to B that sell your I'm selling your house, I'm selling house ABC for X amount, and B is saying that okay, I agree to buy house DEF for X amount. Okay, these both houses are of A, but B is agreeing on DEF, not ABC as proposed by the A. So here there is no consent, because there is no meeting of the minds. No consent, no meeting of minds. Understood? But here what is happening? They are agreeing on the same thing, but just there is no free will. When the contract is void, it is nullity. It has no legal effect. It cannot, no legal effect basically means not enforceable. It will not be enforceable. But when the contract is voidable means it can be made, it is like it can be made void at the option of one party. But what does this mean? At the option, what does this basically mean of at the option of one party? Here it means that if this a had forced b and b has also signed, like what happened in the last situation, I'm only taking up that further. Okay, so basically their contract happened between the parties, same, there was meeting of the minds, but just there was no free consent. So what is option to be, because he had not given his free consent? Okay, so he can go to the court and tell that this was taken without a free consent. I was under coercion. So basically it means that court will tell you that okay, so this means the contract is voidable. Voidable means it is at the option of party B. B can tell that I am not. B can afterward be voidable means that party B can definitely tell that that later make this contract, make this voidable contract valid, or B can make this voidable contract, this voidable contract void, or it can make it valid. What does this mean? That if he later agrees to, okay, even if this happened on gunpoint, I still agree to it, then he'll make it valid. But if he says that no, I don't agree to it, then this is void. Basically, voidability means that the another party who is like the victim here, the person whose consent was taken without the free will, that person gets the opportunity whether to accept the contract or later can basically deny it. So this is a difference between validity and voidability. This it will just become voidable if the factors like coercion, undue influence, fraud, mistake is present, then it becomes voidable. But it is later at the option of the party whose consent was taken without free will. This is the basic and easy concept. Just understood. I hope you all understand what I'm telling. Okay, let's take up the elements. Elements of coercion is okay. Let's take up the elements of coercion. What are the elements of coercion? The same thing. This definition is to be. This definition will break this definition, and it will get all the essentials. See, coercion, the bare act is coercion of committing, threatening to commit any act forbidden by the Indian Penal Code, or unlawful detaining, threatening to detain any person or prejudice any person, whatever with the intention of causing any person to enter into the agreement. Okay, here the term agreement is used because it has not gotten the legal validity. Once it get the legal validity, it become a contract. Okay, let's take essentials of coercions are the threat or act must be forbidden by law or involve unlawful detention of a person or property. Any act or threat which is forbidden by law or involves unlawful detention of person. Intention to compel. Purpose of the act threat must be to compel other party to enter into one. I told you in the example only that compelling the other party means forcing other party, even if the act is forbidden by the law or intention is to compel the other party, or effect on consent. The consent of the coerced party is not free, it is caused under pressure, invalidating the voluntariness of the contract. So basically, what is happening? This consent which is obtained is not free and it is obtained under pressure. So it is invalidation, invalidating the voluntariness of the agreement. Nature of the threat. What is the nature of the threat? Only often physical violence, threat to life, property damage, or or detainment. Mere fear or emotional pressure is not sufficient. There must be a threat of illegal action. For claiming coercion, what are the like nature of the coercion? Coercion is like when the person is doing any act which is like creating a threat of physical violence, threat to life, property damage, or detainment. It should not be any emotional pressure. See, in this case, what is was there? Gunpoint was there. Gunpoint is basically creating fear of death. Yeah, there is a physical violence fear. This is a nature of the threat. Property, there is no property damage here, but there's a threat to life is here. Just examine, just imagine if the threat was like of a sort, like emotional threat that you will face consequences, or something which is affecting the person's mental ability. That will not be considered as a coerced act. Okay, that can't be considered as a coerced act. That will deal with the undue influence. Okay, we'll take it further, but let's take this part first. Okay, so okay, legal effect of coercion is if the consent is obtained by coercion, the contract is voidable. I've already explained you that the contract will become voidable at the option of the party whose consent was coerced. Coerced party may choose to either enforce or resign the cancel the contract. The coerced party may choose to either enforcement when it will when the person is choosing to enforce it, the contract will become valid, and when resignment, then it will become void. Burden of the proof lies in the person claiming coercion to prove the threat or unlawful, who on whom the burden of proof lies. The burden of the proof lies on the person who is basically claiming the, in this scenario which I told you, who this B, his consent was his consent was not free, and he is a victim. He's claiming that consent was not free. The one who is claiming and going to court of law, that person will have the burden of proof. That person will have to give a proof in the court of law. Has They'll have to provide evidences and everything to show that the consent was obtained without free will. Easy. Let's take another one. Examples of coercion is like threatening bodily harm. I've already told, if someone is like saying that I'll hit you by a stone, I'll hit you by a hammer. ठीक है, when unless a contract is signed, or like unlawful detainment, that I'll detain you. Okay, or like to someone to force to agree on the terms of the agreement, and intimidating using threat of criminal acts prohibited, like giving gunshots, all sort of criminal activities, physical violence, detaining property. All of this will come under the coercion. If the any kind of consent is obtained by coercion, the contract will become voidable. That is the essence of this topic. Let's take another one. Now let's come to the next part of it. Now let's do undue influence. What is undue influence? In undue influence, if you see this image is portraying how, like, it's a symbolic undue influence. Undue influence is there is some dominating factor. When a decision is taken, what we are assuming that the person is of rational mind, that he knows what is right and what is right and what is wrong. That is the thing. But if there is a decision, or if any kind of terms are agreed under undue influence, there is a dominant someone at a dominant position and someone at inferior position, and that person tries to take unfair advantage, then shouldn't that kind of contract is doesn't it mean that this contract, even the consent was given, but the consent was without free will. This is There was no free consent. So law protects the people who are like who get threatened, and like the ones who are emotionally weak, the ones who like at the inferior position. So law's purpose is to safeguard all the sections of society. So as there have been observations that there are certain relationships like doctor patient relationship, then there is a relationship between a client and attorney, as we all are lawyers, client and attorney. If attorney is saying something, client believes that there is something that client attorney is saying something right. So there is can be chances of undue influence, and the other party can take the unfair advantage. When we'll discuss the essential ingredients, then you'll understand what does this mean and how to prove it, because it's very difficult to prove that there was undue influence. How will you prove that? That later person that definitely can say that I've just given my advice and not I'm not forced that person, another person. But let's take it further. So basically it's under section 16, contract and use where one party dominates the another party. Okay, presumption arises in relationship of trust. We'll take it. Court has cited that there are certain relationships. Based upon that, court, on the basis of the facts, and also analyze whether there is a probability of undue influence, or what was the kind of relationship between the parties and what the parties have agreed into. Can there be a chances of undue influence? This is basically based upon the rationale of the court. Court basically analyzes. This is a question which is analyzed by the court, okay, while the facts are presented to the court. Okay, let's take it. Burden of the proof: the dominating party must prove no undue influence. Here the burden of proof shifts. Burden of the proof is on the dominating party. Let's see how it happens. A contract is said to be induced by undue influence. Undue influence where the relationship subsisting between the parties are such that one person is in position to dominate the will of the another, uses that position to obtain unfair advantage over the. So what are the ingredients? The relationship should be of such kind where is one is a dominating party, and other is dominating the will of the other party. Okay, dominating party, and then there is a party who is getting dominated, other party who is getting dominated. You can call it inferior party, or like there is no specific term which is used in Bare Act, so I'm not giving any term to it, but it says a dominating party. Okay, and then there is unfair advantage. All the ingredients should be fulfilled to call it undue influence. Always remember, in law, the certain essentials. Whenever you are dealing with any kind of definition, there are certain 4, 5, 6 elements. We call it elements. Okay, so all the elements should be fulfilled for calling for like giving calling that this definitions, the ingredients of these definitions are fulfilled. If all the ingredients are not getting fulfilled, we cannot call that this act is basically this thing which has happened falls under it. For falling under undue influence also, there are factors like I've told you. The relation should be dominating party, dominated party. There should be unfair advantage. Essential ingredients, as it's stated: dominance of will. One party must have the ability to dominate or control the will of another. Misuse of the position: dominate party must misuse that position. There should be unfair advantage using misuse of power. Another one is unfair advantage. Dominating party obtains an unfair benefit or advantage over the influenced party. Okay, this is we call it this dominating party is influenced party. Okay, unfair advantage, misuse of position, dominance of will. Just remember these ingredients. Okay, I'll give you example, then it will become better. But let's once see what are the essential ingredients. Now, see who is considered to have dominating influence. in the case laws we have like there's certain kind of dominating influence. It's this definition, this I'm telling you these three four I've listed down, this is not exhaustive. So there can be a lot of relationship, but what is the determining test for it? Test is real or apparent authority over here. This should be a real or apparent authority. I'll tell you. There apparent authority like employer and employee. There is a relationship of what kind of relationship is there? Employer always can dominate a employee. That how can this happen? See, if this happen, I'll give you now example of employer and employee, and you can create your own examples of the situation like this happens. See, if the employer and employer tells to employee that sign on this document, on sign on this agreement, basically sign on this document, there is some agreement, okay, otherwise otherwise I will terminate your employment. This happens, employer and employee. Otherwise I'll terminate your employment. Employer basically wants him to sign, and this employee signs on this because he does not have any other option. Otherwise this will be, otherwise employees employment will be terminated, so he signs. But there was a consent, but was the consent with the free will? No, there was no free will in this particular case. So this contract, because that person has given the contract, so contract has arisen, but this contract is voidable at the option of employee, this employee, okay. Let's take it further. One in fiduciary relationship of trust. These kind of relationship, here you can see, in this case you can see that there is obviously a real and apparent authority. This real and apparent authority exists, and this employer has taken and has used his authority. Misuse of the power has happened, unfair advantage. There is also unfair advantage he has taken of the kind of relationship between the parties have. Also there are kind of relationship, fiduciary relationship. There are relationship when where there is a trust. A person contracting with someone whose mental capacity is temporarily or permanently affected due to age, illness, or distress. There's certain kind of people who are like suffering from age, illness, and distress, and a person who is who is in a fiduciary relationship, like trust relationship, the person who is affected by age, illness, or distress tries to take undue unfair advantage of that person. Then also this person who is suffering from these can make the contract voidable. It will be at the option of the party whose consent was not free. Effect is what? Effect is what? When the contract is obtained under an undue influence, the contract becomes voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so obtained. The burden to prove that no undue influence was expressly lies on the person on in the dominant position. This is very important, you need to know. Burden of the proof does not lies on the party whose consent was not free, it lies on the dominating party, especially if the contract appears unconscionable, unreasonable. See how it happens. So law basically tries to protect the weaker party. We already know this, okay? That law will always try to try to protect the weaker party who is affected. Here in this case, employees protected. So what the law presumes that if the employee is coming out and telling that this contract was obtained without my free will, there is something. What the law presumes that, okay, if this employee is coming out, this weaker section is weaker party is telling, this means that there can be certain truthfulness in this statement. So burden of proof will lie on the employee. Burden of proof will be on the employer. Proof will be on the employer. That employer will have to prove that this consent, there was a valid consent. When the why the code usually shifts the burden also when there is unconscionable. Here it is written unconscionable. unconscionable or unconscionable or unreasonable. If the terms of the document on which these parties have contracted, it seems to the court that these are very unreasonable terms. If the employee is telling that no, that this consent was not free, and also the weaker party is getting more affected from the document, then the court presumes that okay, there was a certain influence, and then it becomes the duty of the dominant party to prove that there was no influence. You okay? You now, I hope you understand. So this is weaker party shift burden to the dominating party. Dominating party has to prove. Let's discuss the burden of proof under section 16 clause 3. Person in the dominant position enter into a contract which on its face seems unjust or unfair, shock the conscience. The law presumes undue influence. It is then the duty of the dominating party to prove the contract was fair and free from undue influence. Okay, I hope you got this point also. Example of undue influence. What kind of contracts are like undue influence? There are certain illustrations which are given. Like, see, employer forcing the employee to sign a contract waiving certain rights without explaining the consequences. So, employer is telling to employee to sign a contract which is proving to be harmful for the employee itself. Weaker party is getting affected by it by waiving certain rights. This means that this contract was obtained under undue influence. Another is guardian persuading a mentally weak ward to transfer property under unfair terms. That unfair terms. Here also weaker party is the ward. He is getting affected by it. Undue influence. Doctor convincing patient to invest money in the doctor's business, exploiting. So also doctor and patient basically share the relationship of fiduciary relationship. There is a trust between the parties. This will also be here. There is a case of Raghunath Prasad versus Shardu Prasad. You should read this case to understand it in a better way. Here, the father and a son, they were in a dispute. Son mortgaged his property to the father at exorbitant interest rate. The son claimed undue influence. The son is the weaker party, and that son is getting affected. So, court basically had a three-step test to determine undue influence: existence of a dominant relationship, proof of undue influence, and whether the contract is unconscionable. All these terms were fulfilled. Okay, so there are three. These are three tests. What was the outcome? Outcome was the patient father failed to prove absence of dominance, so undue influence. Claims stood partially valid. Limiting excessive interest rate. Here, plaintiff father, because father was at a dominating position and son had claimed it. Father is at a dominant position, right? Father is a dominant position. Why? Because here he was the one who had like mortgaged the property and charged exorbitant, and the father failed to prove that there was no dominance, absence of dominance. But since he failed to prove absence of dominance, then what happened? Then the court said that there was an undue influence. There is a presumption of undue influence. If there is like the dominating party cannot prove, then the court basically presumes that there was undue influence. It's very simple and straightforward. Okay, dominance and unfair advantage is shown. The contract can be set aside or modified. There is one more case about this case. You can read on this case. Due to paucity of the time, I won't be able to discuss another other uh, factors like fraud, misrepresentation, deception in contracts, and then there are case laws also which I need to discuss, and then there are misrepresentation. Mm. We'll take up all of these things in the next class. I hope you liked this video. I've tried to explain in a very simple way undue influence, but important ingredients. These are very important things whenever you're doing any contract drafting to understand how this works, because the business world works on contracts. So knowing the contracts really well will give you a very head start into your law profession. So make sure that from the beginning itself you're doing bare acts properly, reading case laws. I've just given you theory part of it. I just told you what are the important ingredients, what are certain examples I've tried to give in, but there are infinite number of cases which has happened on this, like very advanced cases, the cases where a lot of elements were involved. I would like recommend you all to go back and like really study those cases. You can also comment me down on the cases which you have studied and what you found. And if you like this video, found this video to be very interesting, then please like the video, share the video with your friends who also need such interesting videos, and please do comment to me all the important cases which you are reading these days and what are all your observations. Please comment to me in case you have any kind of query. Thank you so much and happy learning. Bye bye.